Good evening and welcome to Cavan TV's News and Views. The programme is brought to you weekly on Fridays 7 to 8. Each week we take a look at what is going on in the county and we invite our guests to chat live in the studio. If you would like to be a correspondent for your area, you can email us at drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So if you have an interesting story going on in your area, let us know. This week my first guest is Claire McGatterick, and Claire is the PRO and co-founder of Justice for the Magdalens. Claire will be my first guest and I will speak to her in a couple of minutes, and later on in the programme I will talk to John Crotty, who is the principal of Breffni College, Cavan. So we go through some Cavan news. Well, the big story of the week is the sale of a Cavan Town ghost estate. The estate went up for sale at a distressed auction in Dublin's Shelbourne Hotel. The estate is known as Creighton Manor and is on the Ballinar Road opposite Lidl. Interesting statistics to note is that there are 5 completed units, 4 unfinished units and a further planning permission for 52 units. The entire estate sold for just €210,000. At the height of the boom, one house would have been sold for €245,000. This means that the 9 houses almost built now cost only around $24,000 each. The Dublin-based auctioneers Allsops are not disclosing the name of the buyer, who is believed to be a Cavan man in his 50s. In the murder investigation of Detective Garda Donoghue, one of the main suspects, a man in his 20s, who previously jumped bail, is now thought to be outside of the country and beyond the reach of the 100-strong team investigating the murder of the Killinleck native. He is suspected of pulling the trigger and believed to be the boyfriend of the young girl driving the getaway car. Fears are now expressed that the perpetrators of this cold-blooded murder may never be brought to justice. The esteem in which Garda Donoghue was held was shown in the many hundreds that attended his state funeral. And to local news, in Killishandra, you can belong to a car boot sale this Sunday at the town lake at 8 p.m. The entry fee for cars and jeeps is €10 and it's all in aid of the new community centre hall in Killishandra. In Curla there will be a craft and gift fair on Sunday in the Slieve Russell Hotel from 11 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. in the evening. In Arva, St Patrick's Arva GFC are holding Come Dine With Me in the Breffni Arms Hotel this Sunday, March the 16th. Tables need to be booked and you can do so by contacting Niall Brady, Cyril Sheridan or Barney Cully on 087 679 4215. In Mullahoran, local residents are getting ready to launch the local tidy up. Now that the evenings are getting brighter, locals are seen out and about tidying the countryside after the winter months. In Ballintemple, they are having a good spell of weather and farmers are getting a chance to spread slurry, as this is one of the times in the year that they can do so. Belturbet has, as part of the town's 400th birthday, a night of revival through songs, stories, poetry and music. This will take place in the Railway Goods Store on March the 15th at 8 p.m. In Bomboy Templeport, a bazaar will be held in the local community centre tonight at 8 p.m. Please support as it is in aid of St Mogue's National School. And in Drumlane, plans are in place to celebrate a dawn mass in the Drumlane Abbey on Easter Sunday morning. Baileyborough will have a peace concert hosted by Baileyborough Community Choir in the Church of Ireland on Wednesday next the 16th at 8:30. All donations will be for local charities. Killincare is also starting community text alert. Information is available from local man Freddie Kettle. And last, of course but not least, Ballinar folk are in training for its annual climb and cycle challenge to Croagh Patrick. Information is available in any shop in Ballinar. Where you can go and what to do this week in Cavan. Would you like to be a Rose of Tralee? Application forms are available at www.roseoftralee.ie or ring Angela on 087 811 5391. Cavan Junior's Got Talent is still on. It takes place every Sunday afternoon in the Imperial Bar at 4 o'clock. This competition is for 10 to 17-year-olds and it's the 5th week of the 6-week competition and things are really heating up. Stars left to battle for a place in the semi-finals are 11-year-old Amy Thunder, musician Hannah O'Reilly, the guy from Ballyhaise, Anthony O'Hanlon, Bethany Smith. Doing really well is Lacken's Alana Donohoe. Kiefer Sexton is still there, as is Emma Guilfoy and Leon German. 8 young stars left in this Sunday's semi-final. Don't miss it, Imperial Bar, 4 o'clock, and it's compared by the one and only Paul Cox. And the finalists will appear on the Green Room next week with Paul. You can go along to Bunno Community Centre and see the 8th annual Crackers Variety Show. The show starts at 8:30 and it runs from the 7th to the 10th of March. Move Over There, Mrs. Markham is the name of a play by Ray Cooney and John Chapman. Its last performance is Sunday the 9th of March in the Cross Hall Mulla, and it's performed by Slieve Gow, and it's a dark comedy. Okay, I'm really proud to have with me here this evening Claire McGattrick. And Claire is she's PRO and co-founder of Justice for Magdalenes. Claire, thank you for coming along this evening. You're welcome to the studio. Welcome to Calvin TV. Thanks, Claire. Claire, I'm going to be really, for the facts of everybody out there. As I said to you before, just talking to you briefly, I kind of, in my own mind, get laundries and orphanages mixed up. So can you tell me the basis of the Magdalene Oranges, how they started, their origins?
Well, the original sort of mission of the Magdalene Laundries was philanthropic in nature.
Which means?
They were charitable institutions.
Okay.
They were, they were for reform of the so-called fallen woman and the prostitutes, and it was to give them a trade and to get them off the streets and clean things up and get them.
And why was this left to the Sisters of Charity?
For pretty much
religious
most
reasons.
well during the 18th century, an awful lot of the philanthropy would have been down to the religious anyway,
Yes.
and indeed it continued. The deference then continued to the church once the Irish state formed. But originally the church would have been, the philanthropy in that end would have been down to the religious sisters, and there would have been a culture of where women could come and go out of these laundries in the 18th century, and anytime when you hear that phrase of that the women came and went, that comes from the 19th century, where the women would have used the places as a refuge. However, what happened was that culture changed once you get into the 20th century, and particularly after the formation of the state.
Okay.
Because the state tended to defer to the church for social services and continued to do so. And
so they basically became institutions then.
They were already institutions, but what happened was
where you became, always stayed then.
Yes, well, it was harder to get out. The image of the fallen woman in 20th century terms is non-existent, really. The majority of the women that I know who were in the laundries were transferred there either from industrial schools or put in by family members. They were young girls.
Schools,
They were children, and they
no formal education, maybe.
What most
Basic
of them will tell you is that they had no education in there, and they would have been removed from a school situation in an industrial school and lost that whatever education they would have obtained within the industrial school system. So
they were put in these laundries to work under the control or the power of the sisters.
That's right.
Had they contact with their own families thereafter?
Not in the Magdalene Laundries, no. I know there are other institutions, say for example like Stanhope Street, which has been included, thankfully, in the scheme.
Yeah.
But it would have had a front as a school, and sometimes parents would visit their daughters there, and there would have been the sort of a show put on for the parents to kind of give the impression that possibly they were getting an education and everything was okay, but then they'd be back to work the next day, whereas in the laundries they were cut off from their families, they were cut off from society, they were cut off from everybody. If they escaped, they were brought back by the Gardaí. It was a completely different regime.
That was really cruel. And like these laundries, how many women would be there at any one time in a laundry?
From our experience, we're still trying to digest the McAleese report, which unfortunately the presentation of the statistics within that report, were not up to scratch really. They're not easy to digest. However, we do know, say for example, from the 1901 and the 1911 census, at any given time there would have been roughly around 1,000 women. We know from
nationwide.
Yes, and we also know from the McAleese report that a total of in or around 10,000 women would have gone through these institutions.
But in fairness, the argument would be from the religious end would be that there was nobody else to take care of these women. Who would do anything for them? They would have been out on the street with nobody looking after them if they didn't take them in. What do you say to that?
Well, that's a bit of a myth, to be honest. The notion that these places were refuges is utter nonsense. They were hard.
Well, they were there, and there was 1,000 women in them.
Well, these women will tell you that they were either young girls, or as they were young girls, they witnessed older, more institutionalised women who were utterly frustrated from being incarcerated for so long in their lives.
Yes,
These were not places of safe refuge for women, to get a bit of peace and quiet, or whatever way that people may want to, certain sections may want to portray them. They were for-profit industries. They were businesses.
They had to do that to survive. Maybe I'm not coming hard on the Magdalene lounges, but I can see where everything tries to come around. And maybe on some hand, maybe it's a small percentage, but maybe some people, maybe their families, it did happen that when somebody got pregnant, there was a lot of incest in those days. Nobody spoke about it. People got pregnant and nobody knew how. But and then families disowned these people, and they had no refuge to go to, maybe to these homes. There were some people like that in those homes.
But if you're a vulnerable young woman who has been raped by a family member or a non-family member, whichever the case may be, the answer is not to incarcerate you for many, many years, and to actually not incarcerate the man who has actually raped you. And unfortunately, this was the type of thing that happened all the time. Young girls would be abused or raped and would be put in there. I
agree with you totally, and that would not happen in this day and age. It wouldn't possibly happen in this day and age. But you're talking about the beginning of the state back in 1920. There would be no health care, not till John James McQuaid came along, and that's mother and baby schemes and things like that.
Well, he opposed the mother and child scheme.
Yeah, sorry, but I mean they did bring it to light. But I mean, yeah.
But no, the notion that and I'm glad you brought it up. The notion that times were different is also a myth, because the law was being broken then. The law was.
How do you mean the law has been broken? You mean
these women were being
abused,
unlawfully incarcerated, and these women worked for no pay and were incarcerated against their will. These women, I've had the pleasure of meeting countless survivors at this stage, and they all tell you that the doors were locked, the windows were locked, they couldn't get out. They begged to leave. They weren't allowed to leave. When they left, they tried to escape. The Gardaí would return them. There was no way out.
Maybe some of those women were there, and it was a safer place than being at home where they were being repeatedly raped by a family member or somebody in the community. That's a matter for the state to have stepped in at that moment in time and done what it was supposed to. But
in
those days, nobody was able to say. Nobody came out and said.
In the 1937 Constitution, for all its failings, the state did have a duty to step in, where parental duties were not in place. So there was a role for the state, and the state abdicated responsibility.
I get your point, Claire, and we see then now that the government has handed power to the religious to run these places and to look after these people. And what you're saying basically now is, and we can see it and we can hear it from the stories, that they abused that privilege. They abused it, they made profit from it, and they I don't know whether it's mentally or physically kept these women incarcerated in these places. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you believe?
That's exactly what happened. You know, and I believe the women. You know, the women are absolutely consistent in what they say. You know, unfortunately, the McAleese report plays down the level of abuse that was involved.
You're saying you weren't pleased with that report at all?
Not in that respect. It did what it's supposed to do in terms of establishing state involvement. You know, which we already knew, and which
so it played down the emotional side of things.
Well, no, it played down the physical abuse,
Abuse.
I don't know what is not physical abusive about you know, about being locked up, put into a hole, having your hair cut, being beaten. You know, that's physical abuse, and we submitted almost 800 pages of testimony from the women who we are in contact with, and not one line of that written testimony appears in the McAleese report. Not one line.
Okay, Claire, so you are the co-founder of Justice for Magdalens, and can you just give me a brief outline as to how you became involved in that? Obviously, you're too young to be been in a Magdalene laundry. Why are you so interested, and why are you so passionate about it?
Well, I'm not necessarily too young to have not been in a Magdalene laundry, because the last one only closed in 1996. This is a present day thing. One of the reasons I'm involved is I'm an adopted person, and through my adoption activism, we're all sort of very much linked into the same situation.
Again, you can see the difference there, where state intertwined with church.
Indeed,
and it was hard.
indeed.
It was hard to weave it apart, wasn't it? Really.
Well, absolutely. You know, and the state utterly failed in that regard, time and time again.
I don't think they could distinguish themselves. You know, who was ruling who, really.
Well, you know, and as I say, it's. People may say, you know, things were different then, things were, you know, which, you know, I would, you know, everybody has a conscience, you know. Many times have we heard the phrase, I was only following orders, you know. You know, but
following
it's
orders,
up
but
to,
not my conscience.
Indeed, but it's up to the state now, you know, to make amends for what
Claire,
has
that's
happened.
exactly, we've got 2 minutes left. That's exactly what I'd like to ask you. After you've got, you know, your wonderful Aine Kenny apologised to you, and you're going to look for the reparations scheme. What's the future do you see here?
Well,
what good has come out of all this, is what I'm trying to ask you.
Well, I suppose the first really good thing is for the women. The one thing that they wanted was an apology. They wanted to know that what happened to them was wrong, you know, and they really wanted to know that, and that was so important for them. But an apology is only as good as the actions that follow it, because you know, if Aine Kenny truly believes that the women were and always were wholly blameless, you know, it's time to step up. Now, Justice Quirk has been put in place to undertake a 3-month review to establish the best way in which you know, a scheme can be put in place. Now, this scheme must be open. It must be transparent. It must be fair. And
as you, as co-founder of the Justice for Magdalens, are going to follow up on this and make sure.
We are indeed. We're going to be meeting Justice Quirk hopefully next week. And we're going to we ourselves have submitted since October 2011 a reparation scheme to the government on what we believe should happen for the women. These women work for no pay. Let's never forget that. They worked for no pay.
Okay.
You know.
Well, Claire, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on the programme this evening, and you cleared up a lot of points. Continued success with your work as PRO and co-founder of the Justice for Magdalens.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so now I have in the studio, I'm going to have a word with the principal of the Breffni College, Cavan, John Crotty. Okay. Well, it started almost 40 years ago as Cavan Vocational School. With an enrolment of just under 400 students, it marked the start of a new era for education in Cavan. It is, of course, Breffni College, Cavan. With me in the studio this evening is John Crotty, the principal of Breffni College, Cavan. John, thanks for coming into the studio this evening. You're welcome.
Thank you, Aine.
Okay, John, so Breffni College is well established at this stage after almost 40 years. Maybe you could start and tell us what the history, how it developed.
Absolutely, Aine. As you said, it's nearing its 40th birthday, but the story goes back even further than that. As we know it now as Breffni College, In 1974, it was a new school that opened out on the Catill Road, which is called then Cavan Vocational School. But we can even actually go back to the origins of the school being in Farnham Street in Cavan as the old technical school. And indeed, it is said that the reason that College Street in Cavan Town is named College Street is because there was a small school there even further back than that. The school as Cavan Vocational School, I suppose it was a new approach to education in Cavan Town. It combined the traditional technical subjects, as I suppose metalwork and woodwork, from the technical college in the old Farnham Street, and put in with suppose the academic subjects as we know today. It was definitely ahead of its time, and as I said, as the years have gone by, it has evolved into what we now have as Breffni College, a school that caters for all the needs. Many courses that I will talk to you about.
So going back to the days when it was the technical college, there used to be a thing called the group cert, I remember.
Yes.
Did it do a 5-year programme to get to Leaving Cert in those days, or was that when it went to the vocational school that you incorporated the 5-year programme?
Well, the group cert, I suppose, was a 2-year course way back before the inter-cert, and that myself probably did. In the technical college days, I suppose the Leaving Cert wasn't really an option, and it was only in the latter stages when it was realised that yes, that students are now in the 60s and 70s interested in going on and doing a Leaving Cert. But the group cert certainly was, I suppose, the Leaving Cert of the time, like having the group cert at the time was the education. That was your ticket to the next part of your education. So, as I said, the school education in general has evolved, but if you look at the track and how Breffni College has got to where it is, the history of education is very compatible with what has happened in general in the country with education.
Okay, so I've get a feeling from that time that if one did the group cert, you were basically going out into a skill or a trade. Was that the way that college was aimed?
That would be it. That would be it. I suppose the Celtic Tiger that has gone by had tradespeople in the building industry and engineers. I suppose going back even to the original Celtic Tiger, if it was called so, the technical skills that people had in the building in the early buildings of the 80s certainly would have been students that came through the technical system at the time.
So they had expectations of getting the skill and going out there into the workforce straight away, really, wasn't it?
It would have been. I suppose education at the time, I suppose the idea of going to university was not necessarily saying for the elite, but it was certainly something that not everybody would have had a vision to do. And it was only as time went on that people realised that when it was going into teaching, I suppose at the time that was one way you had to go on and do your Leaving Cert. And in fact, the subject Gaeilge, as we know, Irish, would have been a subject that you would have gone on to do, but you wouldn't have been doing something like that in technical school at the time.
Okay, well, glad to say that things have evolved and changed on from that. And now to today, you're talking about courses on offer and things like that. Changing times, changing work, job descriptions. Everything's changing. Everybody needs at least the basic education of 5 years in secondary school. That's just a footstep now, isn't it? Really.
Well, Breffni College, I suppose the ethos of the school is it offers a broad education. You know, it's not just going down one route, saying that you want an academic Leaving Cert or even Junior Cert. The courses that are on offer, I suppose, they're varied, but bearing in mind that Cavan Town has become a fairly large town, and it is what we call a DEIS area. All students do the Junior Cert. Now, there's the Junior Cert schools, and then there's the normal Junior Cert, if you want to call it the normal Junior Cert. But that sets the students up for the second stage of their education. Now, what's on offer in Breffni College would be unique. We have what's known as our Leaving Cert Applied. Now, the Leaving Cert Applied would have been, I suppose, a direct link going back to the days of the technical days. It's more of a practical approach to a Leaving Cert.
When you say unique to Breffni, do you mean that none of the other colleges in the town are doing it?
To my knowledge, they would not be doing
or even in County
all of the Leaving Certs that are on offer. We have a transition year, and I'm aware, and you can see it from some of the pictures that are brought in. The transition year, it's not compulsory, but it does cater for between 20 and 30 of the students that go into fourth year. The Leaving Cert Applied, as I said, caters for students that I suppose in olden days would not have gone on to do a Leaving Cert. I suppose Leaving Cert subjects, the academic subjects of French maybe and the science subjects, it would not have been, I suppose, suitable for them. But this brings a more of a practical, hands-on approach for preparing them for the world. So
more education-wise.
More education, as I said,
you're saying.
developing the broader person. I said, and it opens up the options, getting them ready. I suppose we do pride ourselves in the fact that it is a co-ed school, but that, of course, you know that boys and girls will be in the classes together. That in itself is I suppose, is more of a natural, I suppose, environment than just boys in one class and girls in one class. Of course, then we have the general Leaving Cert, but we have an addition to the general Leaving Cert, which is the LCVP. Now, the LCVP means that as well as doing their Leaving Cert and studying their 7 subjects, which would be normal in all schools, this extra part, it develops them, I suppose, gets them ready for the real world in preparing them for interviews, etc., etc. They go out on work experience, which would be unusual to a Leaving Cert program in general. And in addition to that, it is treated as an 8th subject. So for points for university,
considered.
It is indeed, and as I said,
What is the name of it again?
It's called an LCVP. That's the approach. So to just get an extra certificate. Yes, I suppose there's more work to it, but the majority of the students do it, and unless they specifically request that they don't want to do it, they do study the LCVP in Breffni College.
Okay, enrolment. Your college enrolment. You're doing very well with enrolment now.
Well, at the school, Cavan Vocational School in 1974, the building itself was designed for 450 students. At present, we're nearing the 700 mark. I suppose that's a combination of of a number of things. Obviously, there's more people, bigger population in Cavan, but I'd like to think that the success of our Leaving Certs and Junior Certs over the years, and it says the picture shows that
you've got an extension, yeah. Well, tell us about
Well, an extension, yes. Well, I'll come back to the figures, and then I'll explain how the extension came about. Our present first years there'd be 140 students in it, from all areas of the Cavan area. I suppose we have a catchment area of, I suppose, 20 miles outside of Cavan. Indeed, they come from further than that. We have 165 students in second year and another 140 or so in third year. And I'm delighted to say that there's 139 students now enrolled for September of 2013. So all that in itself, it puts great energy into the school, and it's fantastic to see. But as the graphics show in the photographs there, we have got the go-ahead from the Department of Education for a fairly extensive extension to the school.
And that's going to be complete when?
It's hoped that it will be completed by the end of 2014, which is coming down the track.
That could be the 40 years anniversary.
But you know, the positives of it is it's recognition from the Department of Education that, first of all, Cavan Town in general is a fairly energetic area, and the school is going along with that. And as I said, I think it's only right that the students of this area are given the opportunity to study in a new building.
So it's there on the screen now, John. You can see. Would you like to tell us something about, the?
I suppose we talk about 1974 building. The existing school, as it is, you would not feel it was a 1974 building, because we've got a lot of, I suppose, financial aid through the department and through the Cavan VEC in the last number of years, and it's been fairly upgraded, and it's fairly new inside. But the new
what's this new building going to cater for? Extra classrooms?
It's really going to consolidate everything that we already have. It's going to give us new blocks in areas such as technology and engineering, home economics, with
IT probably.
IT, absolutely. The science department. Now we have a number of science subjects, both at Junior Cert and Leaving Cert. But when you look at physics and chemistry and agricultural science and biology, they are the subjects of, I suppose, 2013, 2014. And on top of the 2 science labs we already have, we have 2 new state-of-the-art labs coming along. You mentioned the IT suites. We have 2 of them, because Cavan VEC have shown, and it has been commented on throughout the country, that they would be in the front line when it's coming to delivering an IT as part of what education is about. It's slow moving in the country, but IT is certainly
Is the way to go. Yeah.
It's the medium that I suppose our young people operate on. And as I said, we have students working with I think four at the moment IT suites, and the iPads and so many things. So that really is the way forward.
So has the building actually started at the moment?
No, it's in the design stage, as you can see from the pictures there. There's a little bit of fine tuning, I suppose. Trying to see it is fairly large. It's a lot larger than we envisaged, and finding a place for it to go, I suppose, has been the first part. But we're getting there. We're certainly getting there. Okay,
so you were talking about how the population around Cavan is growing and changing. You're talking there again like multi-denominational, multi-race. That would be reflected in the pupils. But what about the teaching staff? Are you able to cope with that?
I think it's part and parcel of what the school has been. I suppose you've heard of community schools. So I suppose the Cavan Vocational School in itself was the ultimate community school. At the moment there are 11 internationals countries represented in the school at least. Now we do also have exchange students coming in from different countries. We just take it as every part of the day. You know, they're part of the community. We work with them. We have two teachers that are actually in the area of helping students from different cultures, backgrounds, languages. The language.
And what about language? Yeah, what about language?
We have,
like,
yes.
Would you have maybe young students coming in that are not very good with English? How
Not
do the
many.
teachers cope with that?
Not many, but what we do is we even go a step further. We do help them even with what they have. They're very versatile kids. They'll pick it up a lot quicker than maybe their parents will. And indeed, when we have parents in, the kid themselves is actually the interpreter.
Yeah.
But we have, as I said, two teachers that are in that area, very, very, very committed and qualified in what it is. So, and I suppose as we speak, we're preparing for what's called International Week. And International Week is starting next Monday, the 11th. And we were the first we were the first school in the country to introduce International Week about 4 or 5 years ago.
Very good.
Where we pick, I suppose, one country per day, and we raise their flag in the morning along with the tricolour for Ireland, and we spend the day maybe promoting what they are. And it makes them feel that they're part of the school and they're respected, and that they are part of what we are about. So.
Okay, suppose children, like, how do they integrate? I know children are versatile and resilient, and they can do these things. So they do they?
As the photographs,
integrate.
I suppose, show, you can see.
No problem for them.
No problem. I suppose extracurricular is an exceptional way to get kids mixing. In all, I suppose, aspects of extracurricular.
But you were the instance of cultures and maybe religions as well. We've got different religions. You'd have Christian, and you'd have Muslim.
Yes.
And like, you know, Irish children, like, until pre-Celtic Tiger, really didn't have much of a notion of anything outside of good old Catholic Ireland. And now all of a sudden it's all there. I know children again are sponges for education and they can take it all in, but it's no problem. Is there a problem?
No problem. It's all about respect.
Do you have to work at it, or is it just there?
It's like anything. You develop it, you encourage it. It's all about, I think, the word respect.
So you encourage respect among teachers
really
and students alike.
Yeah. Even we got the green flag. Now the green flag would be,
go ahead,
I suppose,
the green flag.
well, it'd be, I suppose, a popular approach to, I suppose, recycling, and most schools nowadays have the green flag. We're actually going for a second one. But we are also a pilot school for what's called the yellow flag. Now I understand that there's a primary school in Phelan's in the town which we would have a very good bond with, and they're the primary school that are doing the yellow flag, and that solely is promoting community, I suppose, minority groups, countries, integrating exactly. So that fits in perfectly with the approach in Breffni College anyway.
So I mean, it really is fear that kind of makes people like prejudiced against things. So if you educate all students to think, right, okay, educate them about the different religions, different cultures, everything, that takes
It sure does.
It
yes,
takes
indeed,
the bullying, or not bullying is not a good word, but it takes the fear out of it.
It does.
Of being different.
It does. It's making them feel a part of what we are. And I suppose International Week is a great example of that.
Yeah. But you do encourage them to keep their own identity as well as integrate.
Sure.
Keep your own identity, I guess.
Yes, and that's, I suppose, again, come back to the International Week. We will be promoting their.
They can be proud of their own country on that day.
Indeed. And I suppose the flip side of that is they learn about us, because we have what's called an Irish Day at the end of International Week. And they come in and they taste the Irish stew and the Irish music, and Martin Donohoe, as we all know, a local man, would be coming in, playing the accordion.
Yeah.
So they get to know what we're about as well. But it does be great fun, I suppose, when Ireland are playing Poland or Latvia or whatever, and that does be good fun. International Week last year, the weather was excellent, and we had an international soccer match. I think it ended up about 30-a-side, but it started off that it was Ireland versus the rest of the world. But it was great fun, and the teachers were out, and we were all dressed in our different colours. And indeed, when I say that, we have traditionally had a non-uniform day, where all the students of the school dress in their national colours of some sort. Now, we're fine-tuning that and see how we can maybe evolve that next week, but it looks like it will go ahead. So that's also a way to let them know. So listen, we appreciate that you're in the school, but I said we're all in this together, and that's really how we all get on.
And then, we have the delicate subject of maybe children from Africa.
Yeah, well, it's not delicate, I suppose. We just take it in our stride. It says everybody's welcome. They're brought in, and it's the same rules for everybody. We are a deaf school, which a deaf school means that, we're designed to cater for the needs of everybody. So
yeah, well, that's a good teaching tool. But what about children on the ground? They are inclined to be, to bully people that are different.
The bullying in the school, I suppose, in any school, and I could go as far as...
Could it happen? Does it happen? How does it happen?
You can never say it doesn't happen, but the important thing is that when kids come into the school, we commit that they're going to be safe, that they're going to be respected. If you get them and you get talking to them and you get them young, educate them early, it's not a problem. The cyberbullying is a bigger issue. Now, the cyberbullying is, if I go that way...
We've seen a lot of that in recent times. Even there was a school dragged into it somewhere in Donegal, where a young girl actually took her own life and claims that, and their family claimed that it was cyberbullying. But that really is outside the constraints of anybody. You know what I mean? How can you deal with that?
Well, I think everybody has a responsibility on that. And I said, again, we're very proud that we work very closely with the Gardaí in Cavan, who gave us great support. Of course, there has been issues, and we get reports and we get phone calls. Again, it's about education. It's about educating them. I have a fantastic staff, a very, I suppose, conscientious staff, and as we educate them through our SPHE, through the religion classes, and through the year-head structure. And I said we had open nights and information nights for parents through the Cavan VEC, to educate the parents, because sometimes they are the people that are kind of lost on all this. Okay. The world has moved on very, very quickly, and as I said, it's about keeping up with it. We're aware that mobile phones are very powerful tools, the iPad and Facebook. It's about educating. So if
you issue a zero tolerance to this kind of thing, will they take that on board? If you say we're not going in our school, everybody's going to be equal, everybody's going to be safe, everybody's got equal protection, equal rights, will they know?
I don't think it's about. Again, it's the approach. It's not about pointing the finger on zero tolerance. It's about educating them. It's like anything else.
So you're going beyond that. You're going at the very start. You're going back to the very start.
Yes,
and say,
indeed.
This is the way we're going. This is the way it's going to be.
Yeah,
so you don't have to issue that kind of a ultimatum.
No, you don't. You don't. You deal with it when it comes along. And I said, some of the strengths of the school would show that the pastoral care, the year-head structure, they're very conscious and very aware of what can happen.
So hopefully the instances, if you do start at the very beginning, the instances will be few and far between.
Yeah, but we have to remember that Facebook is a very, very powerful tool.
Yes, and I don't think anybody knows how to deal with Facebook and bullying and that.
But it should be embraced as part of our future as well. And as I said, turning around and saying don't go on Facebook is not the answer.
Okay.
Even recently, I've had Leaving Certs in 4th years in, and we're giving them pep talks and getting them motivated to prepare for their Leaving Cert, and things are going very well. But one thing we say, if you text somebody or you send something on Facebook or you put it up on the web, you can't take it back. And kids will look at you when you say that. And when you
it's there in black and white that you sent it.
And it'll be there forever.
Yeah.
And they'll be going for an interview 5-10 years from now, it's still there.
It's there.
And kids do respond to something like that.
Make
and
them realise that. And
yes, indeed. And you know, there's 650 students out in that school, and they're great kids. And they do have a lot of cop on, and they do realise it. And I said, then 99.9% of them know what we're talking about and do respect what we're talking about cyberbullying, and they do understand it, because it is about respect. And I said, they're kids from Cavan, they're good kids.
Okay. Talking about Leaving Cert and the results from the school there, John, we have a picture up there on the screen about some of the achievements of some of your students.
Yes, well, we're
that.
very, I suppose we're proud to say for the last 3 years we've had a team that have got through to the latter stages of the Young Scientist in Dublin. But we won a very interesting one this year, and as I said, the teachers in the graphic there, in particular Maura Maloney and Evelyn Nestor and Carmen McBreen, they were 3 teachers involved with a student called Oisin Riley. And a very simple thing, he brought an interest that he has outside of school, I suppose, into the science lab, and it was now I wouldn't be an expert on it, but he invented a shoe that can be put on horses during transport to stop them from damaging themselves, kicking themselves. And
something as practical as
it's
that.
simple that, and it says, and it got awards, and it's got financial backing. And
so what's the student's name again?
He's Oisin Riley.
Oisin Riley.
Just outside the town. So. And again, that would be on top of what happened last year. We had another group of students that came up with the novel idea of, you can imagine when you're out having your picnic and you go to make a cup of tea from your flask. Well, he mixed powdered milk and a tea bag and put it in a bag, and it got great reviews. Simple things. And that's what it's about. And that was all from encouragement in the science department, letting them think for themselves, develop something, and work on it.
And exhibiting at that. Okay.
Exactly.
So John, we've just got a couple of minutes left. So we'll go through to your vision for the school, and what does the future hold for the school. And
the school is going very well. I'm very, very happy. We have a fantastic staff in the school, and I suppose that's the key to it. But the backup of the Parents Association and the Student Council, but more than ever, I suppose, Cavan VEC, led by Colin McAvoy, that really is a motivation behind how the school is going. If we can consolidate what we're doing, and so there are difficult times, I suppose, coming down the tracks in this country. If we can get over that and keep what we're doing, and it says get our extension built, and which of course is going to add to everything that we have in the school. The enrolment is going up. Statistics show that the trend coming through in the primary schools is that the enrolment is going to continue to grow. So I suppose we have to keep up with that. But with the staff working as a unit, and as I said, and I'm very comfortable working with them and leading the kids and all this that's strong about the school. We are certainly delivering the goods in exams, but there's more than just exams. The kids that are leaving our school at 17, 18 years of age are ready for the world. They're ready to go to the next stage. We're very, very proud of all the students. The parents work very closely with us. So I'd be just hoping to continue what we're doing. And as I said, you mentioned IT, and keep developing what we have and keep working on it.
Okay. Well, just when you're talking about your students and everything like that, myself and Brian were out one Saturday out around town with the camera, and we came across the Holy Communion fair, it was called, one of these pop-up shops. And it was a very good idea. It was the TY year under their teacher, Aileen Conley.
Correct, yes.
Aileen
Conley.
Yeah. And the TY students had their Holy Communion shop, and we actually have got footage of that now.
Right.
Okay, so here we have Kifa and Katie with some of the dresses that are on view in the shop. Katie, what have you got? Kifa, sorry, what have you got?
This is a second-hand dress somebody brought in. Looks brand new. It was only worn on the day, so it's no point in buying a brand new dress. This is €80, and it looks brand new. It's
The whole outfit there.
Yeah.
And you've
This-
got, tell us about it.
jacket, little waistcoat on, is it? And
It's a three-quarter length.
three-quarter
dress.
length. Yeah.
So generally, size-wise, most 8-year-olds are around the same. Hopefully, around
Yeah.
the same size.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is much. Kifa?
This is €80. Yeah.
And Katie, the dress you've got
yeah.
slightly different. Katie,
Yeah,
Can you describe
just
it there
wore
for us?
once. It's like just plain and simple,
And it's
just
really
a
wonderful.
flower. Yeah, and it looks brand new, and it's only €25,
Only
just €25,
Fabulous dress.
and it's only a dress that was just worn once, so it's still good. It's for a good
really
price. Yeah.
And of course, you have accessories. You've got
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got
shoes,
loads
and
of
you've got the
accessories.
hair.
We've got like loads of dresses, and there's shoes and loads of like handbags and tiaras.
headgear.
Yeah,
Let's go with
there's
that.
loads of accessories
So
and
Kate, would you like
gloves.
to show us some of the shoes, Kate and Kifa? Show us some of the shoes. So Kate, tell us about the shoes. They look fabulous.
Yeah, they're all like second-hand shoes, and they look like they were never worn. There's a lovely pair, and they're only
Absolutely, Kate.
€25, and they're probably bought for a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
And they're only wore for one day, so they're still in good condition.
Okay.
And we've got loads of shoes.
You've
Loads.
got velvet shoes there as well.
Yeah, there's
satin shoes. I
satin.
should
Yeah,
say.
Leather
there's
shoes as
loads
well.
of loads of different types and in all different sizes. So,
Yeah.
and it's just a cheaper way for the day, so you don't have to spend loads of money. Like they're only going to be worn once, so there's no point wearing, like buying them for a big amount.
So the sizes are all on the shoes. So
Yeah.
you have no problem if anybody comes into the shop and says I'm size such and such. You can tell them exactly.
Yeah.
You can get them
Yeah,
the
we
size
have
they
them
want.
all. We know what sizes, and they're only they're only cheap. So
Okay, so like what, around €25?
yeah, 25 is probably the rough.
From
like
15 to 25
€5. Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous. And as you say, they'll only be worn for a couple of hours.
Yeah,
on
just
the
for a
day.
couple of hours. Like if they go home to a castle or something, they're not going to be wearing them. So
Okay, girls, that's great. Straight, we're here with the shoes. Great variety of shoes to go with all the different outfits. Yeah.
Loads of different shoes, and they're all for a good price as well. And it's like I have one here, the black leather shoes, and they're only €20 and they're excellent condition too.
Absolutely
wouldn't
excellent.
believe.
This looks like a brand new pair of shoes here. Look,
Yeah, no,
absolutely fabulous.
I'll wear them myself too.
Yeah. What price are they?
They're €15 as well.
Yeah. And you've got like some of these kind of shoes, like really mod kind of shoes.
Yeah, and it's the brown
In
leather
perfect. Can you
shoes.
look at this? So it's perfect condition. And what price are they?
They have not got a label.
They were all between 15 and 20
Yeah,
euro,
all
aren't
of
they?
them are between 15 and €20.
They look fabulous. So anybody comes in with any kind of a suit or anything, you've got like something that'll
Shoes to
match
match
and
as well.
everything. Well done, that's great. Okay, thanks, Victory. Well, here we are in the boys section, and we've got the guys here, Victory, Leon and Tom, and they're going to give us a view of what they have in the boys' wear. Victory.
Yeah, I have a 4-piece suit with a black jacket and a black waistcoat and a maroon tie and black shirt and the black trousers. It's all like brand new practically, only been worn once, and it's only €30 if you see the label.
Brilliant. So you have a whole outfit for 30
€30, only worn once. It's like perfect condition as well.
Yeah, shows that like totally perfect. That's great. €30. Okay, Leon, and you've got, that's very fashionable, Leon. Tell us about that.
This here
really
is
cool.
This here is a second-hand outfit as well. Also, only been worn once. It's got the jacket, shirt, tie, and trousers and belt.
Yeah, open up there and let us see. Open the button there and let us see the pants. That's really cool. What kind of material would you call that? It's really cool. It's really mod, isn't it? Really trendy.
That's the shirt there. It's just the jacket itself, and
Perfect.
the trousers are black, just with some wee stripes going down, and the shirt itself is white with blue stripes.
Okay. And the whole outfit, Leon,
it-
costs
It's €90.
€90 for that trendy outfit. That's
Mhm.
very good. Worn once, a few hours on the day.
And that's
Very
it.
good. That's it. Okay. And Tom, you've got there.
Here we have a brand new suit for monsoon. We had
Brand
a few,
new.
yeah,
Okay.
we had a few bit of money left over from last year, so we thought we'd go out and buy some new clothes. And so we've a navy suit here, full navy suit, navy tie and a white shirt. And we get this all for €45.
€45.
Yeah.
Well done, that's great. Here we are with some of the TY students in Breffni College. Okay, so here we have.
Victory.
Tom.
Kiva, Katie.
Well, you're all very good to give up your Saturday. This is your second Saturday that you've given up to work out with your TY project. Okay, so well, come on, tell us about it. Who's the spokesperson?
Well, like it is good to come in like and help out, and like it is fun, and good being with our friends as well. And
How did you come up with the idea?
well,
I know it was done
yeah,
last
it was
year.
done last year, and then we were like gave money to do it again, like to buy new dresses. So some of the things aren't second hand, some of them were bought.
Okay, so tell me about the work you had to put into getting here today.
Well, we had like to print loads of brochures and stuff.
Can you show me some of those brochures?
Yeah.
Okay, you can tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's just ideas like how to do cheap things on your day, like, and we did up recipes as well that are cheaper. So it'll make the day cheaper for
so
you,
you
and
did
you
a
don't have
recipe
to.
book as well.
Yeah, there's recipe book up there.
And
yeah.
tell us about that.
Well, everyone just researched something to put into it, things that are easy to make and cheap to make. So it just
So this is for the meal after the Holy Communion.
yeah, after the Holy Communion. So then you don't have like just telling people you don't have to go somewhere to eat,
Absolutely.
and
you
it
can
just
have
makes
at
the day
home.
cheaper. Yeah.
Okay, very good. And so you did a lot of work. You put the news out in the newsletters.
In newsletters, and we made brochures and sent them out to schools about the 2 days, and then at school we sat in twos, like taking turns in the reception,
Very
and
good.
people brought in their outfits.
Did
And
you find people in general very generous? They thought it was a good idea?
yeah, they
maybe?
thought it was a good idea. Yeah, and
Okay.
they just were happy to give away their dresses and get money for them.
Okay. So what do the guys think about this? Okay.
It takes a lot of energy out of you to do
Does it? Yeah.
To
Yes,
get up in the morning and to actually do it, but it's worth it at times. So
Great.
and
So maybe we have got budding entrepreneurs here. You know, this is the beginning of business.
start small.
It's start small, great, but it's a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know that there's a recession on, and people cannot. You said earlier on, like 1,500.
Yeah.
We start to say 1,500 a day, 1,500 for the day, €1,500 for the day.
Just for 1 day.
Yeah. So what would your tips be on that? Has to
Actually,
be keep it simple.
try just as much as you wanna. Just try it. It's actually good when you get into it.
So this work is good when you get into
Yeah.
it. And yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. It was very hard work going, staying up at trying to get all the clothes in, all the research we had to do. It was good.
It's a great experience, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we do have entrepreneurs here. Okay, folks. Thank you. Just to round off today's visit to Breffni College pop-up shop on their Holy Communion Day, we'll let Aileen say a few words. Aileen, about the hard work you've done and the people who have helped you.
Yeah, I would just like to make acknowledge an awful lot of people. It wouldn't have been possible to have the shop without their support, particularly the owner, Mr. Cosgrove, who owns the shop. He's given us this premises for a couple of weeks now just to get it ready, and for these 2 Saturdays. Also, Mel Signs, they done a lovely sign out at the front to raise awareness about it. The staff and teachers in Breffni College have been great support, with the students, and the pastoral assistants and the priests in the diocese as well for making people aware about it, and all the schools, anyone who, and the people who brought the stuff. There'd be no shop, obviously, without people, bringing their items into the shop here. So I think it's a fantastic initiative, and maybe I would love to continue it on from year to year.
So next year, Aileen, for next year, to go forward from here, what are your plans?
Well, it'll be getting the premises again, and just maybe advertising it even earlier next year, and try and get as much stock in as possible, and making people aware. Like, it's, some of the items here are fantastic, as you've seen. Like, for second hand, you shouldn't need to go out and spend a huge amount of money on an outfit for one day. Like, a lot of the kids don't keep them on for very long, so.
You did say earlier that maybe for storage, that if you could get a little bit of help from somebody to store some of the goods that.
I mean, last year we collected hundreds of items, and then when they didn't sell, we'd have to ring them to come and pick them up. And then this year it was starting from scratch again, getting the items in again. So it's just, so maybe because we don't have a storage facility in our school, and it is, it's a big responsibility minding other people's lovely, clothes. So, yeah.
So maybe if somebody has got storage. Space or something like that, and could help you out, maybe. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and anyone who's any great ideas to expand it further, we'd be open to that. Definitely. And I'd like to thank St Vincent de Paul as well. They've been of great support as well in giving us. They said they could, refer people on to us as well. And just anyone who's got great ideas, would definitely appreciate it.
Okay. So there you are, Breffni College pop-up shop with their Holy Communion Day and their Holy Communion outfits. Well, John, that was the TY year, and the students, they're all very happy in their shop.
Fantastic kids.
Maybe young entrepreneurs in there, you never
absolutely.
know.
And again, a great buzz around the school. That's the second year.
See the way they were so willing to give up their time to do that.
Yes.
Outside of school hours,
teacher
they were so willing
students.
to do that.
Yes,
both
indeed.
teacher and students. That was
and
very
indeed,
good.
I will also add to that a local businessman, Brendan Cosgrove, and his wife also gave us the premises for that, which we're deeply grateful for, as I said, because it was a great area to have it. So.
And also as well, I think Mel Signs did the big sign outside for you as well. That was very good.
Yes, actually Mel would have been past student of the school, so
very good. Well, that gets us to the end of this evening's interview. I'd like to thank again John for coming into the studio and telling us about Breffni College, Cavan, and thanks again, John, for coming along.
Thank you for having me, and the best of luck with your shows on you.
Well, that brings tonight's show to an end, and again, I'd like to thank my guests, Claire McGetterick, and to John Crotty, Principal of Breffni College, and to the TY students and their teacher of Breffni College. Well, as you're well aware, today is International Ladies' Day, so fair play to all the women around the world who are doing it, and as sisters should be doing it for themselves. And on the note of that, we see that the Breffni Bells are tonight launching their book, Memories and Dreams, in the Hotel Kilmore, and they're doing that tonight at 8 o'clock. And next week we actually hope to have the Breffni Bells, one of the Breffni Bells, in to talk about the book and about the idea of the book, where it came from. And also don't forget that Sunday is Mother's Day. So for mums out there, young and old, happy Mother's Day. Well, it's good evening for me. Enjoy the weekend and please take care.